A $100 bill sits in a vault, but its power is quietly fading away. Inflation is the silent thief that steals your wealth while you sleep. Most people never notice it happening until suddenly everything costs more than they remember. In 1970, a gallon of gas cost 36 cents. Today, over $3. That's inflation at work, silently eroding your purchasing power over decades. Your grandparents bought their first home for $20,000. That same house now sells for $400,000 or more. The house didn't change. The money changed, losing value every single year. Imagine stuffing $10,000 under your mattress in 1990. 30 years later, you pull out the same $10,000, but it would only buy what $5,000 did back then. Half your wealth vanished into thin air, not stolen by a thief, but destroyed by inflation. Central banks call 2% annual inflation healthy for the economy. But even at 2%, prices double every 35 years. Your savings account pays maybe 0.5% interest these days. Meanwhile, inflation runs at 2, 3, sometimes 8% or higher. The math is brutal. You're losing money by keeping it safe. Banks don't advertise this reality. They show you the interest you earn. What matters is your real return, the interest you earn minus the inflation rate. Let's look at real numbers. $100 in the year 2000. That same $100 today buys only about $67 worth of goods. 33% of your purchasing power evaporated in just 2 decades. A cup of coffee cost $1.50 in the year 2000. Now that same cup costs $3.50 or even more. Your dollar didn't shrink, but it buys far less than before. This isn't some distant economic theory. It's happening to your money right now. Every day you hold cash, inflation chips away another tiny fragment. Think of it like sand slipping through an hourglass, grain by grain. Each grain seems insignificant, but over time, the pile grows enormously. In 1923, Germany experienced hyperinflation so severe people burned money for fuel. Bread cost billions of marks by the end of that crisis. That's extreme, but it shows what unchecked inflation can ultimately do. Even moderate inflation compounds over time, like a slow poison. Retirement planning becomes a guessing game against an invisible opponent. You save $1 million for retirement at age 30. 35 years later, that million buys what $400,000 does today. $600,000 of purchasing power, silently erased by time. No thief broke in. No market crashed. Just time and inflation working together. The wealthy understand this game well. They don't hold cash for long. They buy assets that grow faster than inflation instead. Real estate, stocks, businesses, things that produce income and appreciate over time. Meanwhile, the middle class keeps savings in bank accounts, thinking they're secure, believing they're being responsible. They're actually losing ground every single year. A savings account is often called the safest place for your money. Safe from what exactly? Certainly not from the silent erosion of inflation. In 2021, inflation hit 7% in the United States. Savings accounts were paying roughly 0.06% interest that year. You lost nearly 7 cents of every dollar, guaranteed by holding cash. Bonds, traditionally considered safe investments, got crushed by rising inflation too. When inflation rises, existing bonds lose value because their payments buy less. Even Treasury inflation-protected securities only keep pace. They don't get you ahead. So what actually protects your wealth from this invisible destroyer? Historically, stocks have returned about 10% annually before adjusting for inflation. After inflation, you're still left with roughly 7% real growth. Real estate tends to appreciate with or slightly above inflation over time. Commodities like gold are often called inflation hedges by financial advisors. But gold doesn't produce income, it just sits there, hoping to keep pace. The real answer isn't one magical asset. It's strategic diversification. Spreading wealth across different investments that respond differently to economic changes. Some investments naturally rise when inflation heats up, protecting your purchasing power. Others provide steady income and stability when markets become turbulent and uncertain. Understanding inflation changes how you think about money completely and forever. Cash isn't safety. Holding large amounts of cash guarantees a slow, steady loss. Emergency funds are necessary, maybe 3 to 6 months of expenses. Beyond that, every dollar sitting idle is a dollar losing value daily. The Federal Reserve targets 2% inflation annually as their goal. Since the Federal Reserve's creation, the dollar has lost over 90% of its value. But actual inflation often runs higher than official numbers suggest. Housing, healthcare, and education costs have far outpaced the official inflation rate. Your personal inflation rate depends on what you actually spend money on. If you're buying a home or paying for college, inflation hits much harder. The Consumer Price Index tries to measure average inflation for everyone, but averages can hide the reality of your personal financial experience. Warren Buffett called inflation a tax on capital, and he's absolutely right. Unlike government taxes, you never see inflation listed on any receipt. It doesn't announce itself, it just quietly changes the numbers on every price tag. Countries have tried printing money to solve economic problems throughout history. Zimbabwe printed so much money that a $1 trillion bill became worthless paper. Venezuela saw inflation hit 1,000,000% in just recent years. These extreme cases remind us that money itself has no inherent value. Money is a medium of exchange, backed only by trust in the system. When that trust erodes, inflation accelerates rapidly and dangerously. You can't control monetary policy or central bank decisions as an individual, but you can control how you store and grow your personal wealth. Financial education is the first step toward protecting yourself. The silent thief doesn't win if you understand the game and play wisely. Your financial future is worth defending. Start taking action today. Don't let inflation destroy what you've worked so hard to build. Awareness is power. Now that you see it, you can fight back effectively. Your savings, your future, your freedom, all worth protecting from inflation's silent grasp.